Hey everybody, it's Derek Jameson, and welcome to episode 6 of my How To series, Practical Spirituality and Mysticism. In this episode, I meet with Sam Aotaki, and we discuss spirit animals, totem animals, power animals, what the difference is, and how we are connecting with them already, and how we can take that relationship deeper. We even talk a little bit about why we're scared of certain animals and what they have to teach us. In this practical video, I hope you get to take away all the tools and tips that you can so that you can be able to connect more deeply and strengthen that relationship with your spirit animals. Hi, Sam. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm very good. I'm very excited for this discussion because we are talking about spirit animals and how to connect with them. Please tell us what spirit animals are and why we would want to connect with them.
Okay, so spirit animals. So there are actually like three type of spirit animals that you probably have heard of before. We've heard of totem animals, spirit animals, and power animals that usually come up.
Mhm.
And those are actually all different. So a totem animal, for example, is the animal that represents like your tribe, your lineage, your family line, so that usually comes to you through your bloodline. A lot of us, for example, in our last names, coming from different languages, translates to something. So that would be like your totem. Your spirit animal is the animal that is part of your own soul spirit. So they're usually stick with you for long periods of time. It's usually something that you tap into and embody to go through karmic life lessons. And then an power animal, because all of us are one, are animals that come to you when you specifically need that type of energy, but they may not stay with you for your whole life. They may stay with you for a particular season, for one particular issue, or anything like that. But it's so there's different categories of it. And there's different, like, people connect to all three of them, or one of them, or all of them are the same. Like, it's all different for everyone, right?
Mhm.
But the reason why it's so important or just so special to have that connection is because all of us are part of the animal kingdom, right? So all of us have these different aspects of selves that that can be represented by these animal affinities. And the greatest thing about spirit animals is when you start really tapping into them, because they are animals and because they really are like in our physical reality, they can show up for you. And that's always so comforting, because I feel like, at least in my own experience, sometime diving into the spiritual path, it's so out there. And so like, oh, I'll envision, and okay, there's all these things. And then with shamanic practitioner, with shamanic practices, and in particular spirit animals, it's like, oh, like I saw, this raccoon in my meditation, like what does that mean? And then the next day you see a raccoon in front of your house, and you're like, oh, that's me. Like, it's
Mhm.
confirmation, like I'm not crazy. Or it's like it brings the material and the spiritual together very intensely. And a
Mhm.
lot of us are connected to animals since we were kids, and there's, we all are really on like the like save the animals train. So
Yeah.
might as well connect to them and find which aspects connect with us and who we are and who they are and all these great little things.
I love that. And what was coming to my mind when you were talking about that was that I think, without even realizing it, as we were growing up, we were connected to those spirit animals in all the different forms. And we don't realize it because we're just attracted to a specific, let's say, stuffed animal that was the favorite stuffed animal, or like you just like certain animals at certain times in your life. And I think that the energy of these certain animals that were throughout our lives were actually the energies that were working with us. And when we're young, we just either forgot it, that we'd seen it, or we just didn't realize it. And that goes up into adulthood, even if you're like 23 years old and you're like, wow, I just really love foxes. I just really love foxes right now. I think that that kind of correlates with an energy that could be connecting with people that they're really tuning into without even realizing it.
Oh yeah, like I definitely think that it's something that it's almost so primal and so old that even if you're not in the spiritual community or even tapped into any of the spiritual stuff, you totally have people being like, oh, my favorite animal is this, or like, oh, my spirit animal is this, or like, this person is my spirit animal right now. And we use it in terms of like, I want to tap into that energy. That's literally how we use the phrase, oh, that's my spirit animal, you know?
Yep.
So it's like, of course, we can tap into these energies by literally like bringing them into our body and moving through them. And especially too, it's so fun to kind of think about like animals that we're afraid of, if they hold qualities that we're afraid to tap into or that we don't
Hmm.
understand. Like a lot of people are so afraid of snakes. Snakes are all about sexuality and transformation. Two of the most terrifying things in the world.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's saying like people are really scared of bugs and insects, but they're so foundational in community, right? They all rely on each other and they're tiny, right? So sometimes we get scared of that. So it's interesting to make those connections.
And I think it's so important that you brought that up because now the people that watch this and hear this are going to be able to look at those things. That literally, I bet you when they hear this, that moment, they're going to be like, they're going to think of the spider and or whatever it is, and they're going to think, wait, and they're going to look at the situation differently. They're going to flip like what it is teaching them, not what it is creating fear-wise within them. Oh my gosh, that was such a good little gem you popped in there.
Yeah. I mean, like spiders, for example, they're all about creation and being able to create your own life and create things that are going to be able to catch what you want. And that is also terrifying. It makes sense why people are scared of spiders, you know?
Oh my gosh, I love it so much. Like it just like made me see a different perspective myself. And even when you said the snake and sexuality and transformation, and so many people are really terrified of snakes. Like I love it. And so now I love snakes. I'm like, look how beautiful it is. And it's like, there's a huge snake. Let me put it on my neck. I just want to put,
Yes.
I'm all about it. So
Well,
I
that's
love it.
always the fun thing too, is to like kind of like think about that is like, oh, most people are afraid of that, but like, why am I not afraid of that? And then when you kind of look at the qualities, you're like, oh, yeah.
Yep.
But then also too, like thinking about what animal is called to you right now and thinking about what's going on in your life, it
Yeah.
usually correlates a lot.
I love that. I love that so much. I think people have to be willing to be able to look at that, like what it is that's within them. Just like with anything that's in your, like any event that takes place in your life, whether or not it's positive or negative or anything in between, it's like it is a reflection of something going on within you. And when it comes to the animal, it's like, well, why is that calling to you? Why is that speaking to you? You know what's funny is on Saturday, I saw a glimpse of somebody's oracle card. I happened to catch it right at a moment, but it was a bear in the woods in the mountains. And I was debating on whether or not to go to Big Bear on Sunday because I didn't know if like I needed snow chains, whatever. And in that moment though, I was like, the bear's telling me to go to Big Bear. It's a big brown bear. I gotta go. So it's being open to receiving that information because I mean at one point I wasn't open to receiving what animals were telling me until I realized that it's an energy and that all these different animals started working with me at different times that I needed to integrate their energy with. So when you were talking about like the spirit animals, a part of their own soul or karmic lessons, and then the power animal that needs to come in and infuse the power, you're making me look at some of those experiences for like dissect it a little bit more and see really the nuance and the difference between. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, like that's honestly the most fun thing about spirit animals is you can see it at very, superficial if you want to, but you can also like really start diving into like all the little nuances, like for example, I've always just been very called to birds. Like birds have always been my thing and hawk has always been with me and all that. And it's one of those things where if I look at my own personality, like hawk is my spirit animal. And if I look at my own personality, it's like, yeah, I'm always up here. I'm always like coasting over everything to like see what's really going on, but I have a hard time getting down to the little tiny details of things because I have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
But it's fun to kind of see like what animal has stuck with me always, what grouping of animal, you know, the water ones, the land ones, the reptiles, the buggies, like, you know, the
Yeah.
flying ones, all things. And you can kind of just start breaking it down. And it's just interesting. It's a really fun way to incorporate your physical reality with what's going on.
And you bring up another point that just made me like, I just saw you at the zoo having a field day in my head, by the way, just as a vision that I just saw all. But you bring up a good point that I would like to just bring up, that people can like basically tap into the energy of an animal that they see and ask the animal what they want the person to know. And people don't realize they can do this, but you can literally set the intention and like log yourself into the energy field of a bird that might be outside and connecting with the energy and tuning into it and asking, hello, bird, what do you want me to know? Or what messages do you have for me? And people don't know that they can do this, that you can do that with nature. It doesn't even have to be an animal, it could be anything, but to tune into that. So it's fun. I've been practicing that myself and talking to animals in that way and asking, tuning into their energy and asking what they want me to do. So that's a whole nother level, but
No, but that is like a really it's such a great practice because sometimes we have like these misconceptions of animals, you know? Like I remember when mountain lion was coming to me a lot. And my first instinct of mountain lion is almost more like just a normal lion, you know? But then I was like, like let me look at videos of an actual mountain lion. And the first ones that came up were like it hunting and how still it was, and I was like, "Oh, it's the stillness. Okay." Because I don't do that. Because my spirit animal is birds. I'm always flying somewhere. But it was one of those things where I was like, "Oh, I gotta tap into that like stillness. Just stop until you know it's ready. Then you can pounce," kind of thing. So that's it, and it's fun. Like if you're in real life, like physical reality, and you can be like, "What is this? What do the animals want to show me?" And you see an aspect of the animal, like my favorite example is if you're looking at squirrels, squirrels are the most fun because they have so many activities, right? If you go out and you're just like, you know, squirrel, what would you like to show me? You know, you can ask the squirrel, and if the squirrels come out and they're like playing with each other, then it's like, oh, like maybe I need to incorporate more play. Maybe I need to incorporate more play with someone else. Maybe I need to go out with my friends. And then you can also look at like the season that we're in, like actually, like if it was squirrels playing in fall, fall is usually when squirrels get ready for winter. Maybe it's saying that you already have all the things, so don't worry about that. Go play.
go
It's fine,
enjoy.
you know?
Yeah. Ah, I love it. I love it. I think these are great. These are great extra tools that even more beyond what we were going to talk about. I think this is so awesome because it takes it a level further to now what we're doing is we're talking about the relationship between us and animals and realizing that it is a relationship, that even you seeing squirrels playing outside is a relationship between you and that experience, teaching you to go be playful a little bit more. But we have to be willing to see that and see that everything is giving us a message like that. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. And then, you know, again, like spirit animals are so broad. Like you can tap into like what animal right now represents my feminine side, my yin side, what animal right now represents my yang side. That's always interesting.
Yeah.
You know, you can I mean you can go on a whole thing. Because again,
Yeah,
all of us are fun. So
yeah, some are interesting. Like I can immediately tune into, like, if I saw when I was seeing an elephant, I was seeing elephants come at one point, and I was able to tune into what that was. I was being able to tune into the lion energies that were coming, and then I would get one like a frog, and then I'd be like, and there would be like a little frog that was sitting in my pocket in a vision, and it was like, hey, and it was just like. Psh, and I'm like, well, I don't know what that is, but it's so cute. And I didn't really look too much further into it besides like maybe some medicine that can be
right.
extracted. But like besides that, I didn't really look into it. I just look at it as fun.
Well, I think that's also the fun thing too, is like based on our own experiences, our own knowledge, our own things, like the animals could mean something different. You know, like of course, like you can look online and be like, what's the spirit animal meaning of frog, you know, and look it up.
Yeah.
But like, for example, if when you think of frogs, you think of like a ceremony, like maybe that's the calling. Like for me, I think of frogs, I always think of like health and longevity because in Japanese culture, that's what they represent.
Mm,
So like it's different for both of us, but in a way, it still means the same thing.
yeah.
But
Yep.
like how to get there,
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I have never done plant medicine. I've never done like combo or anything. I haven't done it. It's just not necessarily called to me now. That doesn't necessarily. I think that what I receive spiritually anyway from all the different guides and the animals and everything, I just haven't found I don't need to crack it open to that level yet because I already get all that stuff by just in a natural sense, organic sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you because I'm actually completely on that boat. And I think that's actually a big misconception around shamanic practices is like people are like, oh, like you just trip balls in the woods and whatever. And it's like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. You don't have to do all that. You can if it's called to you. But
Right.
right there too, I'm literally like, I don't know if I need to be cracked open some more. Like, I'm cool.
Yeah.
I get the messages. I can't imagine.
You'll see animals you ain't never thought you could ever see before. You'll see animals from other dimensions.
Right. Like not even from this planet. Well,
Yeah.
that's a big thing is like the that I mean that's just a whole completely other conversation. But in short, you don't need to take mushrooms or do plant medicine or do anything to connect with your animal spirits,
Right.
spirits.
So speaking of that, what are the best practices or how can we tune into what spirit animals, power animals, totem animals are working with us now? How do we do that? What would you say is the best practices for people that are listening that how they can go start to tune into that?
Well, I would say, honestly, just sit for a moment and ask yourself what animal is calling to you. This is actually something where, you can totally go into a deep meditation and journey and find it. But honestly, spirit animals and power animals are really one of those things where if you just think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, I'm really called to this right now. And the biggest thing is just don't question it. Just don't question it because there is like definitely something where sometimes we want to be trendy and be like, yeah, lion's the best spirit animal. It's like, no, it's not. Which is
You're a
fine.
llama. A llama is your spirit animal.
For being an awesome spirit
I
animal.
know.
Like, oh my God. Yeah. So that's the thing is like I guess like my main advice for that is see what's just calling to you right now. See what keeps showing up. Literally either in your conscious awareness or people keep talking about a specific animal or it just I don't know, it just keeps coming up over and over and over again or look back on your life. Your favorite animal is probably your spirit animal also. So there is that. Totem animals are interesting. I would say the number one thing for totem animals is, especially if your last name translates to something else in a different language, is usually there's some sort of resonance there. Like my last name translates to blue waterfall. It's not a totem animal, but it's a totem for our family because we at some point obviously live near a blue waterfall. And all of us are very fluid but intense. So you can
Mhm.
kind of see like your family line is like that in a way. So that's totem animals. And then power animals, it's kind of the same as spirit animals. Like spirit animals is like the one that like has just been with you for a while. Power animals, that's a great practice for power animals. Say you're going through something, say you're going through something at work, for example, and or say you're going through something with your relationship and you go outside and you're like, spirit animals, send me a message, or you go on a hike or something. I know a lot of us live in a city, so like you go on a hike and you see like two rabbits, and you just ask like, what do I need to know about my relationship? Maybe it means that it's a really fertile time for you guys, and maybe you're not focusing on that, or maybe something is wanting to be created, or maybe you just need to have some fun, like some rabbits, like kind of, you know what I mean? But you can kind of like see it that way. So one way is literally just go outside, ask the universe, and see what appears for you, because animals are they're doing their own thing. They have their own community, their own society, their own thing going on. They don't stop for us,
Yeah.
so you'll see one. And if you want to go into a meditation for it, if you have a meditation practice, that's an intention that you can set for yourself is, what animal medicine or what animal do I need to tap into? And kind of just settle and see what comes up. And that's the one where you really don't question it. Because sometimes a really random animal that you were literally like, what? Like, those are always the ones where you're just like, why did I get a ladybug? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then you kind of start diving into it and you're like, oh, it makes sense.
Yeah. That's a big thing is like and we did the summit and I expressed I'm like don't judge the experience, don't analyze it, don't just observe it. Like allow yourself to step away and observe it just and accept whatever the thing is because that's what's teaching you something. It's when we analyze, we constrict and then we judge it and then the connection is weaker because of that. And so I think you make a good point of like just trusting it and like getting what you get and then going with it and finding out from there. I think that something I don't know when it was, but I feel like a hog or like some kind of animal like that came up in a vision for something. And I was like, well, that's interesting. But I'm like, don't judge it, Derek. Like, if the hog is here, the hog is for you. Think about what a hog means and what it's trying to tell you. So it's funny because I will catch myself still like if I can't make something out in a vision or doing something, I'll start to analyze and then I have to remind myself, observe, observe and report. Just be the watcher, be the observer, don't judge it. So that's a really good point that you
Yeah,
make.
because I mean, a lot of us, again, like we have such preconceived notions. If someone were to get like, a hog, like, of course, like the first thing is this, like, what? Me? Like,
Me, a hog.
like, oh my God, rude. Like, subconscious rude. But like, it really could be like hogs are really linked to prosperity because they can feed a lot of people,
Yeah.
and maybe you can feed a lot of people, you know what I mean? Or like there's something, just something, or like a great practice too, if you're doing it in a meditation, is to follow the animal and see what they do. Like, I remember when I was tapping into my feminine side, like right now I'm working with raccoon, and at first I was just like literally at first my mind was literally like trash. Like, this is accurate for my feminine side, I guess.
You're trash.
Like like apparently I picked things out of trash, which is it's in the past. But I was like, no, like there has to be more to this. So it's funny because when I followed the raccoon, what the raccoon did was I followed it, it went into a trash can, and it pulled out all this really cool stuff, and it started making something out of the trash. And I was like, oh, one man's trash is another man's treasure. That's what my feminine side wanted to say to me, is create something out of what most people think is disposable. And I was like, okay, this is better.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I noticed like, oh wow, I have my own judgments about my feminine side, because that's where my mind went, is, oh, my feminine side's trash, not the other side. That's a whole other thing of healing. you know
Oh, my phantom besides trash.
yeah, I mean,
Oh my gosh, it's so funny.
it is hilarious. Then my masculine side is like, don't act like that.
Don't you love it? I love the dance. It's such a dance and it is so fun. But people don't realize it can be fun, the dance and like the just going back and forth and just working with those aspects of ourselves. They tend to really go hard on themselves, especially when people are really too tapped into their emotional bodies. They get really like hard on themselves about it and like go down into the trenches and it's supposed to be fun. It's just supposed to be like an exploration and like people are seeing how powerful they are and they're running from that power because they don't know how to handle it or ground it, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is grounding and centering, which is why, again, like practices like this with shamanic practices are so grounding, because it's literally like it's in front of your eyeballs,
Yeah.
like it's right there. And like in regards to the feminine masculine thing, I forget what I was listening to, but someone said it was like a tantra person, but they were like, "Yeah, when you're single, you really are in a relationship with your other aspect of self." And I was like, "That resonates so much because it's so true." And then when you're in a relationship, then it's really for people. You know, you have feminine, masculine for you, and you have to learn how that works together, and et cetera, et cetera. But yeah, like that with when any time that anyone who's watching this or even us too, you know, feel ungrounded, that's probably like the most helpful thing is to just go outside and just ask like nature, like show me a sign, just literally touch like hold a tree, you know. And that's the other thing too with animals is sometimes we may not see an animal. Sometimes we go out and we're like, spirit animals, what do you want to show me? And for some reason, like this one bush is just calling to you. And like that might be the energy, you
Yeah.
know, maybe a rosemary bush and you connect with more of your ancestors or something. Who knows, you know? Or sometimes maybe nothing will come up and it's one of those where it's like maybe this is hibernation time, you know. It's not that you're not getting a message, it's just maybe you need to just sit and breathe and
Yeah.
stillness.
And I think it's important that people open up their senses. So what they might be looking with their eyes, but are they maybe they're not listening with their ears. And there
Mm,
is something that's taking place because you know how we receive messages is going to be different. It could be sentiency. We could feel it, we could see it, we could hear it, we could know it, and so smell it, you know, taste it, whatever. But it's like when you're out there, it's like open up the senses, and maybe that's also part of the message, opening up your senses. Like, okay, you think you're seeing with your eyes, but let's flip it and let's see with something else. Let's see with
right.
another factor, you know?
It's so resonant with animal spirits because animals function from their instinctual, you know, bodies, you know, like that's what they go for. They don't do the whole like logic thing of like, well, you know I heard a crow behind me, but there's also like this other bird in front of me. Maybe it's the bird. And it's like, no, it's probably the crow. Like, you know, it's like almost tapping into that childlike self. And
Yeah.
like, the animals are
Hmm.
my best friends.
I really think that one of the biggest messages that you brought forward about when we connect with spirit animals in all the different ways is that even the parts that are like that we're afraid of are kind of the most important parts about the animal because it's reflecting something back to us. And I think that a bit like one of the biggest takeaways from us talking today is seeing, okay, is meeting that fear around a certain animal, because if you can do it, I think it's like a gateway to meeting it within the self, you know. So if they're able to see it in a tangible sense, like I see a bear and I have fear around it, it's like, well, what is that teaching you about you? And then there it's like an introduction that allows them to face the shadow aspect of themselves.
Yeah, I really do actually think that that is one of the more interesting things about animal spirits, especially if you have like negative dreams about an animal, you know?
Yeah.
Like that's another thing too. It's like you know, it's coming up. Like what like dive into it, you know, just
Yeah.
sink into it. And I think also too it is more comfortable to have that because again, like you can see it. Like I remember I was someone that I knew, you know, she was telling me that like for some reason she's just like terrified of birds. Like she just doesn't like birds, you know? And I was like, well, that's interesting. Like maybe you have a hard time like thinking of like the bigger picture. And then she was like, I guess like the next day, for some reason, like there was a dead pigeon like outside of her door. And I was like, and she was like, what does this mean? Like, da, da. And I'm like, well, maybe if you don't tap into it, that part of you may die. And that's not a good thing. So, you know, you don't have to, you know, become a bird keeper. Like you don't have to buy a bird and like become best friends with the bird. But
Yeah.
just look at like, are there times where you feel like you are quote unquote dying because you're not broadening your perspective?
Yeah.
You know? That's another thing. Like if you're scared of an animal, you don't have to like face your fears and like eat the frog.
Yeah. You know, this makes me think of past lives. And when I do past life regressions on people, they often, not all the time, but more often than not, they see themselves as an animal or they
Mm,
see an animal as a very big aspect of the past life vision that they're having. And sometimes they have to see that they were this animal to, and how it correlates with this particular life and how they're integrating it. I've done regressions on artists before, and then they use that information for their music and their visuals, and they can, and it just shows that they embody the energy of that and took that power back. And I've even had it where the girl, she actually might watch this, but she had a regression, and then there was a bear that basically ate her and like killed her in this one life, but the bear was her mother in this life. So
mm,
that's the relationship there, and of course you can see where that's kind of going with the correlation of this life.
mm.
But excuse me, but yeah, the bear represented the mother and was that the energy, so they're healing that in this particular one. But that's so interesting.
No, that's so interesting because what I, like a question that I've gotten before actually is like, how is it, how are past lives possible because there's so many humans in the world? Like, where did all these new souls become created? And I'm just like, well, a lot of animals are now extinct, so the souls had to go somewhere. We're not bound to human life. Like that's why spirit animals are a thing, because that we literally have that in our spirit. We
Yeah.
experience those things. That's why some of us are really really connected to particular animals, because we were those animals, so we understand them on such like a deep like level. Like
Mm.
I like a big thing that I've been wanting to do is go hunting, just because I really want to just experience being so connected to my own food. And
Mm.
something that is so strong is like I cannot hunt a bird.
Mm.
I can't kill a bird. And then I kind of like realized like, oh, it's because I was one. So
Yep.
like they're my squad. I can't do that.
Yeah. Wow,
Land
that's
animal
so
forever, but
interesting.
next life.
It's so interesting. I think all this information is so valuable for people to tap into, because I know that people like the idea of spirit animal and they want to know which one theirs is. And it's so easy to access. And this is such a practical thing because it can be right in front of your face or right in your mind, right in your thought process, right in your daily everything. And you might not even be recognizing it. So I feel like this conversation allowed people to allow them to see more clearly and activate them, to reconnect and integrate their spirit animal counterparts for whatever they're teaching them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's again like the beauty of connecting with the animal spirits, is because they're so tangible, they're so easy. If you're too clever, you'll miss the whole point entirely.
Yeah,
And it's really so close, it's like your own face. You can't
yeah,
see it, but everyone else can. you know?
amazing. Yeah. I love it. I'm like, I feel like I'm attracting all of my animals around. I feel like they're all here. My hog,
Yeah.
my dog, my hog, my frog.
Yeah, your hog, your frog. Oh, I love that though. I love that though.
Hog and
Another
my
cool thing too with spirit animals is like one last little thing is you can look at your astrology sign, because all the signs are represented by animals too. So that might resonate. Or like
Mhm.
your Chinese zodiac sign too.
Yeah,
It's year of the ox right now.
yeah,
Maybe that's why you got hog recently. Maybe this is your year.
maybe. I don't know. I think that I have so many spirit beings that I think I get limited to what I have access to, because it's so much that I have a being that monitors it. She monitors the whole thing because she says she oversees the spirit connections because I attract so much for so many different reasons. And I think that it would just be overwhelming. I can feel it all the time. And I'm like, like right now, just because we're talking about this, our own animals are like surrounding us right now. Like, we're so excited.
No, that's literally how I feel. It's literally I feel like the whole room that I'm in is just like with so many animal spirits right now, and I'm just like,
Yeah.
not best friends.
Yeah, so funny. Oh my God, I love this. Well, if you have a parting message for anybody around spirit animals or anything at all, what would it be?
Just know that the animal spirits are always with you. So you're never ever alone, because if you literally go outside, I guarantee you'll connect with some energy, because we're not separate from nature. We are nature. All same, same.
It really is. Literally, it always is. It's like a relationship with ourselves.
No, it really yeah, it is. It is. And also too, it's just such a it's so fun. It's fun. And if you
Yeah.
have a pet, you know, a little actual animal friend, go hug them after you watch this. They're with you. You guys had a past life together, probably.
Yeah. And then when those animals depart this physical life, they're going to integrate their energy even more with their
Yeah.
human. Yep.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So
100%.
cool. That's one thing I really like people to know is that that's what happens after, rather it's not like they just leave. They're just no, they're just that's why I want people to understand energy and realize that it's energy, so nothing really goes away. It's like there with you and it's like part of you. And it's literally like when they say they'll always be in my heart, it's like no, but like literally. They'll literally be there. Yeah.
Like actually. Like I
Like
almost think about it.
actually.
Yeah, like for real, for real. Like actually, like it's almost like you know how so many of us we have so many memories, and we can talk about the memories as if it's happening, but we know it's gone. But it doesn't matter because it lives within us. It's all the same.
Yeah.
Energy and matter equal each other. Can't destroy matter. Can't
Right.
destroy energy. It all just transmutes into something else. A little fun thing too is like my family always jokes that like our pets are gonna come back as like our kids. Like my mom is always like, "Yeah, our dog is gonna come back as your son," and I'm like, "Can you imagine?" Yeah, he's with me.
Yep, yep, he's with me, all right.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope people take a lot from this. I know that they will because it went even deeper than like just connecting with spirit animals. It went on to the level that I had an idea would come forward between our energy co-creating together. So I'm very excited that you were here and I appreciate you. Where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me mostly on Instagram at Sam of the East, and my website is exactly the same, Sam of the East. And yeah, come be my friend. We'll hang out. We're all one, anyways. So if this resonates with you, then great. You're just looking into another mirror. So yeah, I hope to see y'all soon. Talk soon. Connect in the spirit world soon.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for this beautiful encounter, and we will see you soon.